As a person who has almost no CSGO experience and struggles to be aggro in most games I play, unless I'm dominating the enemy, how would you recommend trying to get aggression up? Would it be better to just force myself to push a lot more, or fully push always and maybe learn to entry versus support? So this was a follow-up question that this person actually asked me. He was basically asking about he's struggling in his games to carry. And I said that a lot of the times in lower ranked games, if you're playing like in silver lobbies and stuff, it's going to be a lot better for you to be the aggressive player. This is basically my opinion on the matter. There's not like a right or wrong thing to do, but I've noticed that if I am not the engager in silver lobbies, generally what I'll see is my team will die. And even though I'm a competent player and I'll end up in like a 1v4, and sometimes I'll even get like 3 kills in that 1v4, it just doesn't feel like enough. It feels like the weight of the world is on your back. So I've noticed when you're playing just a little bit more aggressive in lower ranks, oftentimes you can just be better than a lot of the players that you're playing against. If you're playing in a silver lobby and you feel like you are way above the rank of silver, you should be able to outfrag a lot of these players. You should be able to win a majority of your gunfights. And even getting 2 kills before the round even starts, getting able to entry for your team and getting them onto site can be really beneficial. Okay, this is a question that I get a lot. I get this question a lot, and there's not like a perfect answer for it, right? So this player, he's actually struggling a little bit more with his hardware, it seems like, which there's no perfect answer for that. I get both of these questions a lot. Hey King, big fan of your videos. I'm texting you for to ask for some ways and somehow to get out of silver. I'm on a laptop which weighs me down, but I'm actually getting fairly decent win rates, and I'm usually around first 3 on the leaderboard every round, and I make mostly good decisions in the round. Following many guides and watching many pros play, them improving. Thanks in advance. Also, out of my previous message, I am solo queuing. So I think that a big issue for a lot of lower rank players, it is, I always say like game sense and stuff like that, but for like a new player, when you tell them that game sense is an issue, that doesn't mean a lot to a person, right? If I tell you game sense is an issue, and you're like, okay, well, how do I improve that? Like, you don't know what step it takes. So generally when people ask me this question, it's like, hey, I'm a silver player, how do I get out of silver? The main recommendation I give them is make sure that you're doing aim trainers and make sure that you're warming up. A lot of people have heard me say this a lot. Maybe they get kind of tired of it. The reason that I say this is because it's kind of the statement right here. I'm usually around first 3 on the leaderboard. If you're playing at a silver rank and you feel like you genuinely feel like you belong at a rank above silver, you should be winning a majority of your gunfights. You should be top fragging pretty much every single game, right? A first 3 is like average. You know, like if you're first 3, you're playing well, you're playing at your rank pretty much. But if you're playing basically what I would say is first 3 is probably you're playing at your rank. Maybe first one is playing above the rank. Everybody below that is playing below the rank. It's just like, and it kind of happens. Obviously, kills aren't everything, right? It doesn't always play out that way. But to say that your first 3 isn't really anything like crazy impressive, unfortunately. I think what I would really focus on for somebody is just make sure that you're doing these aim trainers. You are always winning your aim duels, or you should be winning at least a majority of them, like 80% of them, especially at a rank like silver. And then after that, I would focus on maybe focusing on your other mechanics, maybe focusing on your communication, like your leadership. I think that comes more into play when you're playing like gold ranks and stuff like that, and as you're climbing. I noticed that a lot of lower rank players, they struggle with their communication. But beyond that, like playing on a laptop or playing on a bad hardware, I don't feel like there's a good fix to this. I've thought about it a lot. I don't have like a perfect solution. If people are playing on if you're playing on 20 frames per second, I don't have good advice for you. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think you could just kind of have to upgrade your stuff. I'm going to say every few games there's a Smurf and low elo. There is definitely a Smurf and low elo every few games. It might even be more than every few games. But I think that it's best to recognize that when you're playing against these Smurfs, you're playing against players that are better than you, right? They're not hacking. They're not like crazy or anything. They're human. They're probably not even that much crazy better than you. They probably just have more time on the game, right? You entirely have the capabilities to outclass that player. You do. You're human. You could do it. Like theoretically, you could do it within that game. It's difficult. It's frustrating to deal with, but recognize that that is a player who's better than you. That's who you're striving to be. You're striving to be that player. If you're looking to climb, you just got to beat that player. And maybe you're not ready for it right now, and maybe that's the frustrating thing. But think about what that player does and how you can outclass that player. Think about what you can do to actually top that player. You're probably not going to beat him, but what could you do to actually beat him one round? You know, like one round, what has he been doing that you can punish? Because you know he's doing something, right? Oftentimes these guys who are smurfing, they're playing like stupidly aggressive. What can you do to punish that stupid aggressive play? When you get that pick onto the player, do you see how the round falls apart and stuff like that? Maybe he is a smurf, but you can take advantage of those players, and you can actually you can learn from them. You can improve, you know? So this next question I feel kind of rough about because I don't have a perfect answer to this. And if somebody has a perfect answer, there is no perfect answer. There's just not. I'm sorry. Let me know in chat if you have a better response to this. But King, I find myself constantly in situations where we are attacking into an op or two ops and my entire team refuses to entry. I'm a Cypher main. Nobody uses flashes, no smokes, no anything. When I try to communicate, I get shut down for how I sound. I've tried instead trying to run a default away from my team, but more often than not, it ends up with me being versus 3+ members. After that, getting picked apart by the op. It feels almost impossible to make the game, and it makes the game unenjoyable. Is there any way to make an impact with just one Cypher player? I think that this is a really hard thing to get around. The best response that I have is find somebody to play with, right? That's what somebody said in chat, bro. Find a good duo partner. It's really difficult to queue into the game alone, especially for kids and women. That's what I want to say specifically. I don't have this issue a lot. Like I'm very lucky with like the regards where I just being like a cis male. Like I just get to hang out on the internet and like people don't bully me for like how I sound. But like a lot of people, they do have the problem where they talk in comms and like they don't, or they get harassed and like they basically just can't communicate with their team. A lot of people have voice chat turned off entirely. They just never communicate, and I don't blame them for having it turned off, right? If I was getting harassed every single game, I wouldn't want to talk to people either. The problem that you run into is that when you have a lack of communication, that's oftentimes that's the thing that holds players at a lower rank, right? That's what I was just saying before this, is that a lot of players are gold and below. They never really talk. They never do. This is one of like the biggest issues that I see in low elo. People just don't say anything. And it's really frustrating when I'm trying to like communicate with a lot of these players. I'm like, hey, like, well, what are you seeing? And they're like, oh, they just don't have comms on. They just don't talk back, you know? What I would recommend for these players, if you do have comms on, what you gotta do, if people are even remotely toxic, just mute them immediately. Don't even tolerate it at all. If they say anything that even rubs you like slightly the wrong way, just mute them right away. They're not gonna make any helpful callouts. Do not worry about that player. But if you do meet players within your games that actually do seem cool, like it does feel like you guys played together, they were respectful, they were nice, like you feel like, oh, I would play another game with that person. Add them, dude. Like, I feel like this is like a weird concept for a lot of people, but like add these people and like play with them. You know, there's a lot of people who are good at the game. You know, they're good at the game, or at least half decent. They're at your rank, and you'll feel comfortable playing with them. You can communicate with them, and it works effectively. You're gonna meet people like this within your matchmaking. It's not every single game where you meet somebody who's toxic. I just don't believe that. It's frequent. I would believe that it happens every now and then, but it's not every single game. Find those players that you can play with and work with those guys. As far as playing Cypher versus operators, I don't think there's a perfect solution to that, but you could try your best. Like, unfortunately, I've noticed that I struggle with Cypher when I'm playing Sentinels. This is why oftentimes I'll play like duelists and stuff like that. So I have flashbangs, or I'll play controllers so I can smoke them off. I really don't like dealing with operators. I don't have the perfect response to Cypher other than communicating with your team. And as we've discussed, this has already been kind of a problem. Thank you all for watching, though. If you enjoyed this segment, we did a live on stream, so be sure to check us out on stream where we do all these cool things. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace out. Oh, subscribe to the YouTube channel too. I freaking love your faces.